both of you. Well, Chapman, Maclain, hey, thank you for talking to us about your Untold series. Um, so tell us, do you guys ever imagine how popular the sports documentary series was going to be on Netflix?
Yeah, I think it's always strange as filmmakers because you make these things in a bubble with your editors and your composers and your small producing team, and we all like them. We kind of make them for something that we would want to watch, and then it comes out and you see like Aaron Rodgers tweeting about it, or Steph Curry, and Drake is wearing a Trashers jersey from one of our episodes, and you're just like, wow, man! Like you forget, like, yeah, a lot of people watch Netflix, and this gets out there, and it's always a little bit shocking, and not even just from like celebrities and sports people, but it's always fun on like Twitter and Instagram to like see people sharing the films and talking about them and diving into the discourse is always, I think like the most fun part of making these things.
Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you never like know what stories are going to resonate with audiences too much. It's always, you kind of follow your own instincts as a filmmaker of what you find interesting. But seeing the reception, yeah, totally unexpected. It's just our first documentary was a sports documentary, and then we went away from sports. We went and worked on Wild Wild Country, story based on a religious group in Oregon. And for some reason or another, after that, we kind of felt the draw back into the sports world, the sports landscape. And so for us to get to like kind of play in this playground has been awesome. We have like an immense amount of respect for the athletes that we get to work with and are so grateful for like the stories that they share with us. So as just like a filmmaker and an artist, it really is kind of like a dream project to work on, to get to work on.
Now, you guys immensely sports fans, because you usually documentarians usually just do like one movie and then move on to something else. But you guys stuck it. We're talking about like a whole series, a lot of movies.
Yeah, I think like Mac and I grew up playing sports and then kind of moved away from sports as we got into like film and music and art in our teenage years and things like that. Then kind of getting into documentary filmmaking, we really like found like these incredible stories in the world of sports with high stakes and drama and fascinating off-field incidences. And I think that we found a way to combine like one of our passions, which was sports growing up, into like kind of our passion now, which is filmmaking.
When we made our first documentary, I used to kind of joke around of like, I always felt like the Venn diagram of sports audiences and like independent filmmakers, which we kind of always fashioned ourselves to be. Like there wasn't like a huge amount of overlap. Like when we took our sports documentary Batter Bastards of Baseball to Sundance, amazing reaction to it, but I just didn't know like is sports really of interest to this community of film watchers. But I think it is. Like I think the biggest compliment we can get on this show is, I don't even like sports, or I don't even like this sport, or I didn't even know about this story, and I liked watching this documentary. So for us, like that's kind of the bullseye we're always trying to hit.
So how do you guys actually choose your topics that you do actually want to cover? Because there's probably hundreds of sporting stories out there, and you guys seemingly choose the most fascinating ones.
Yeah, I think like as documentary filmmakers, we're really like story first and character first. And so I think when we're not like the most diehard sports fans, which is like, oh, we should do a documentary on game 7 of this series. Like we enjoy watching it, but I think us personally, we're more intrigued by the people that experience these events. And so for us, really the main criteria is like, this is Untold. It really has to be like incredibly raw, vulnerable interviews that these athletes give, or else we're not really interested in documenting it. So we have like a long list of like our dream sports stories that we'd love to do. And, we start making phone calls, start meeting with athletes, and pretty quickly you get a good feel for like people who like really want to give a warts and all storytelling version of their life. And that comes through quickly. And then those are the kind of subjects that we gravitate towards to collaborate with. And I think it's turned out really well for us.
Yeah, and it's such it's a collaborative process with everyone that you work on. So like a lot of times there's stories that we like and we reach out and it doesn't turn out to be that interesting, or stories that we think are somewhat interesting, but then we reach out and we have an amazing 2 hour phone call with an athlete or a person that's at the center of the story, and you kind of start to get a little bit of that tingling feeling where like, all right, there's something here, there's something special. We should pursue this. So we kind of like pressure test all the stories. It's really kind of like even amongst our producing team, there's stories that they like or I like or Chap likes, and it's kind of a little bit of a wolf pack to a degree. Whichever ones kind of come out on top are the ones that we ended up deciding to do. But it's one of the more fun parts of the process with the series.
I am most curious is, how do you guys get your interview subjects to talk? Because some of these subjects, if I were some of these athletes, I would like to forget some of the stuff. But
yeah, it's kind of part of I think the fun journey making documentary films is like you're entering someone's life and you're asking them to share usually what is like could be their most embarrassing or most painful or most traumatizing thing that's happened to them in their life, and that's not easy to do. And so first off, I just always have like a ton of respect for people who have the courage to do that in a documentary. Like if someone asked me to interview in a documentary, I would never do it. I would say, no way. Like, there's no way I'm going to be that open in front of millions of people. So I have a ton of respect for it. But I think really Mac and I, like, we try to connect with people and relate to them and show them as they are. I don't think we like really come in ever with any like agendas or preconceived notions. Like, even if it's things we disagree with or that we don't like, we really feel like we're at the service of these people to tell their story, and that's kind of our role as a documentary filmmaker.
Yeah, I think like another kind of like compelling pitch that we're just able to tell people is just like how long we do work on these. These things take they're tough. They take a year and a half, 2 years to make, and it's a whole team of people working on them. So we really try to convey like, listen, we are going to ask you for quite a bit of time. We like to do long interviews. We like to do multi-day interviews, but then I try and promise them like, trust us, from there on out, we are then going to spend every day for 18 months trying to make this the best version of your story that we possibly can. And I think for like most athletes, like they even though they don't have a background in film or filmmaking, like they understand that idea, and I think that they respect it. So for us, that's usually a pretty soon after that we start to have that conversation with them.
So how do you guys have this balancing act if it takes months and months to complete these documentaries? Because you didn't complete like one documentary, you completed like many documentaries.
Yeah,
it's like something unique about this show is like Mac and I really do show run it as if it's like a fictional series where we kind of oversee the stories, we hire the directors, we're working with the editors hands on to try to give a little bit of like a unified feel to the Untold universe, so to speak. And so it is kind of like a unique process. It's not like we have 10 different production teams and 10 different directors and DPs who all go out and make their own documentary and we release them. We really kind of do oversee the whole process. And so it's difficult, but I think what that allows us to do is like try and get these stories right. And I think in making documentaries, like you never get it right on the first try. It always like kind of sucks and it sucks and it sucks, and you're editing and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. And like you need that time to kind of not get it right to like work through it and then hopefully get it right. And so it is a long process, but I think it's kind of like what we enjoy doing.
Right. Well, you two directed two upcoming documentary series, The Girlfriend Who Doesn't Exist and The Race of the Century, which is two far different type of stories. So let's start with The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist. I'm shocked you even got Mateo to even talk about this, but this was such a national story. How do you even get more stuff that us public didn't even know?
Sure. Well, just quick off first.
Correct.
Credit for directing. We actually didn't direct the Manti Te'o one. It was directed by Ryan Duffy and Tony Vanuku. I wish I could take credit for it because it's an amazing documentary and it was super cool to partner with them and have them do it. But yeah, they really like did an amazing job at taking what was kind of like a tabloid story from 2013 that everyone just kind of remembered the headline, like what, some college star got catfished by a fake dead girlfriend, was kind of the tabloid headline. And we all dove in together, started doing research, and like really uncovered like a much more like, I think, nuanced, empathetic story here, which was like a story for identity, searching for identity, a story of love. I think you really see like the connection they had early on, like that genuine, authentic connection. And then I think it's really about like healing in a certain sense and how much this affected them even till modern day. And so working with those two directors, I think hopefully we are able to craft something that's a little more compelling than just some of maybe the buzzy headlines at the time.
But you're right. You know, that's a very different story than the Race of the Century. We did direct that one. And to us, like, that hit on kind of like these, and I don't even mean it critically, but like these almost cliche sports underdog stories, like from the 80s that we kind of grew up watching and loving, you know, and we kind of got to hear the story of the 1983 America's Cup, which is really like a big moment in Australian sports history. It's a little bit like the miracle on ice for us when we beat the Soviets in the Olympics. It's almost their version that. And so we dove into that story, and we didn't know anything about sailing, didn't know much about that world. And we grew up in Southern California, so that story takes place in the Northeast. But just an amazing world and collection of characters and amazing archive footage and interviews, and really was just a true spirited underdog story that was almost irresistible to us. So really happy that we got to kind of cherry pick that one and direct that one, because it was very fun.
Terrific. And before I go, I just want to know, is there still more untold stories that, you know, down the road for you guys? Because I have a feeling you guys have something under the covers.
Well, our fingers crossed. We're definitely in research mode and identifying possible stories in the future. And it would be a dream to be able to do more volumes at Netflix. They've been a terrific partner for us doing this. And yes, fingers crossed for more volumes of Untold.
Yeah, watch it. Season 2 will help.
Most excellent. Hey, thank you very much, gentlemen, for speaking to us. I can't wait to watch more Untold stories.
Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.